Thank you to Intimina for sponsoring today's video. Her next sentence: I hope you understand that me seeing you as a hero is not meant to add to your anxiety. Rather, it's to lift you up and celebrate you. Julie. Y'all, Julie really thought this was a compliment. Oh no! I put a spell on you. And now you're mine. Don't like the things you do. Now you're mine. Don't like the things you do. I ain't lying. Been 300 years, right down to the day. Now the witch is back, and there's hell to pay. I put a spell on you. Sing it with me, y'all. Because you're mine. Hello, Salem. My name's Winifred. What's your... Hello, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Khadija. Nieces, nephews, nibblings, aunties, uncles, piblings. Y'all know what to do, but if you're new, feel free to take a look around, just suss out the vibe. I sit in my workspace. We're back in the workspace. And I just talk about whatever I want. So yeah, if that sounds good to you, then stay for this video. Today, we are talking about one of my favorite teenage shows, The Vampire Diaries. Well, okay, actually, we're gonna be talking about the creator of the show, Julie Plec, creator of the originals as well as Legacies. Those are the spin-off series. But we're talking about her because I think she's a very interesting case study in how specifically liberal, racialized white showrunners, creators, producers have the best intentions, but don't realize just how damaging their messaging can be. Specifically the messaging in their TV shows. And disclaimer, I'm using The Vampire Diaries as it's a show that I watched a lot and mostly enjoyed, but my main goal is that others who like this genre and hope to write in it or are currently writing in it and want to really utilize a diverse cast with diverse perspectives, this is for y'all. Because I think it's important to look to the past to see, what mistakes we want to rectify. So that's why I'm talking about a show that hasn't been on the air for like 5 years. And it's a pop culture retrospective. These are fun, okay? I'm like trying to justify it to myself and any naysayers. Anyway, let's pay some bills, give our shouts to the sponsor, make sure the crew is taken care of, and then let's get back into it. Listen, we are all grown folks here, okay? So naturally, we're gonna talk about some grown folk stuff. Although it's not really that grown folk stuff because very young people get that we're talking about periods. I kept redoing this. This is probably the 4th time I've done it because I've been trying to figure out a way to like talk about menstruating in like a cute little but it's just natural. It's a part of life. Like freaking whatever. People menstruate, okay? And the sad part is that 1, we don't talk openly enough about it. 2, because of that lack of speaking about menstruation open and honestly, I feel like a lot of us don't actually know a lot of things about our own bodies as a result. Like 2021 is the first time I ever learned about PMDD. Maybe 2020, but still, way too late in life. Way too late in life. Given my mental health, but a brand that is trying to change that are the folks down at Intimina. So Intimina is a Swedish brand that is focused on all things women's intimate health, helping people from first menstrual cycles to menopause, all of that. Their website is about spreading information and also about carrying products for menstruation and menopause and all of that. So they mostly sell menstrual cups. And for those of you that have never used a menstrual cup before, it's just this little cup that you put up in your, But you just put it in there, leave it for a certain amount of hours a day, and then take it out, wash it, replace it, whatever you want to do. They're pretty simple to use, but not all menstrual cups are created equally. Because I've been using them for a few years, and some of them just aren't that comfortable, but Intimina's Lily Cup 1 is honestly the best menstrual cup I've ever used. It's compact. It's got this cute little, it can like squish in, and then it comes in this little case, this cute little pink case, so you can carry it with you if you need to go out somewhere. You can wear it for up to 8 hours. It's easy to clean, and if you've never used a menstrual cup before but you want to, you're interested, you're intrigued, you're like, my environmental footprint with all of my tampons and pads, let me try something different. It is perfect for first-time users. But if you're not fully convinced, or if you just want to go learn more for yourself, which I think all of us should, then you can go to Intimina.com, get some more information, purchase a menstrual cup or two, take advantage of their discounts, you know. As always, the link will be in my description. So yeah, click on it, find out more about periods, and maybe for some of y'all, try out the Lily Cup one, because she cute. She's like, boop, 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 hello, boop, boop. I'm sorry, okay, let's get back to the video. As most of us know, last year, Megan Thee Stallion and that man that shall not be named had a situation, aka him shooting her. And whilst the situation was unfolding, Megan tweeted this on July 17th. Black women are so unprotected, and we hold so many things in to protect the feelings of others without considering our own. So lots of people responded to this and retweeted it and all the things. But one person whose response was giving, girl, you should have just kept that to yourself or in the group chat, was the Vampire Diaries show creator, Julie Plec. I believe Black women are going to save us all. And I'm so sorry to put that pressure on you, but white women are failing all of us. I hope you understand that me seeing you as a hero is not meant to add to your anxiety, but rather it's to lift you up and celebrate you. That tweet, I don't know if people are still saying this, but that tweet was peak white liberal feminism. And I don't even know if you have to be a white liberal feminist to participate in that kind of foolery, but anyway, definitely explains why, at least in my opinion, racialized people of color were/are treated the way they were/are in her shows. So let's unpack it. Firstly, it's giving Black women are a monolith. Megan's tweet was doing that too. There are probably Black women who felt protected most of their lives. Must be nice. But there isn't a legacy of protection afforded to racialized Black women as a whole-ish. We're trying to be careful because of the legacy of chattel slavery in this country, in America, and Canada. What? Let's not stop acting like there's racism here. Why do we keep doing? We're not doing this. We're not doing this. But yes, Megan saying Black women and lumping us all together is more so coming from a place of exhaustion, history, context, and lived experience. So that's why I'm a bit more lenient to her supposedly lumping us all in or calling us a monolith, because she's not pulling this out of thin air, is what I'm trying to say. Megan Thee Stallion isn't. Julie Plec. Now, when Plec was saying Black women, even though she's trying to do it as a compliment, you're gonna save us all, blah, blah, blah. This monolith is seen in the way racialized Black women are depicted in her shows. Let's talk about all of the witches being Black. And yes, I think it's cool that all of the witches were Black and came from like the same bloodline. I thought that was a really interesting sort of storyline to make, and it could have gone in so many directions. But the whole purpose of the witches was to always just come fix plot holes or save everyone at the end of the day when we've run out of options, or AKA save Elena. All the freaking time. We'll get to it. That's one of the main examples that I can see when I think about the Vampire Diaries, of how even if Julie Plec just tweeted that thing as a response to Megan, it kind of feels like she really has bought into this narrative that's been told and sold to her. Going back to dissecting this tweet. The next thing that I find troublesome about this tweet is that it's giving the work is too hard and that's why white women can't be trusted to do it, which includes me. It's her washing her hands of the obligation, but hoping to reap the benefits of the hard work via praise. This first line alone, I believe Black women are going to save us all, and I'm so sorry to put that pressure on you, but white women are failing all of us. That is a run-on sentence. Was that the whole sentence? To me, that tells you everything you need to know about how she characterizes racialized women of color and how she contradicts that characterization at times. The show's main protagonist is Elena, Nina Dobrev's character, and she is very needy, kind of basic, I'm not gonna lie. She's the epitome of a liberal white damsel not in distress. Most of the white leads in her shows are still powerful and have agency, but it's like they're worried about their own thing. They don't have to worry about everyone else, even if they're trying to, because the side characters will come in, pick up the slack, and save everyone. Getting more specific, what I mean is that Elena as a character, yes, she was like, my friends aren't gonna die for me, blah, 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 always trying to martyr herself, but at the end of the day, it didn't really matter because I think deep inside, she never had to really worry about the fact that people weren't gonna do everything they could to protect her, even at the detriment of the other side characters. Now, that may be, I don't know, protagonist armor, you know, as well. There are a lot of things bleeding into why this character, why Elena was so damn annoying and also just so like everything was about her. I get it. At the same time, other side characters that weren't Bonnie, aka all the other side characters that were white, were allowed to have all of these different sorts of experiences, love interests, and you can see it particularly when you look at Bonnie, Caroline, and Elena. Those are the three main girls in the show. Bonnie is a witch, Elena is human, eventually turns vampire, then turns human again. It's a complicated story. And Caroline was human and then turns vampire. Whole long story. This isn't a recap of the Vampire Diaries, but in the show you see points where Caroline is kidnapped. You know, she's taken advantage of, she's put through the ringer, but she always comes out as a very strong character. She's like, honestly, Caroline would have been a more interesting and compelling lead than Elena. But anyway, when you look at the treatment of a character like Caroline versus a character like Bonnie is when you start to see this whole ideal of black women are gonna save us all, and I'm sorry, but white women can't, they're not gonna do the work, they're not gonna do the things, blah, 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 blah. It's giving very like, white women are focused on our own thing and we need other people to come help save us. And I talked about this in the Race and Horror video about that narrative the KKK painted and needing to protect the most vulnerable in their society to them, aka white women. Something tells me that because this narrative has been perpetuated for so long that all these other types of women can fend for themselves. All these other types of women can do whatever, but white women need help, they can't be trusted, and these are not my words, these are hers, can't be trusted, all of this, let's just put it on black women. Let's just put it on other racialized women of color to pick up the slack, help deal with all the things. God. I don't know if I'm ever gonna be able to watch the Vampire Diaries again, actually, now that I'm like, I can't unsee it, you know? Especially after reading this tweet, I was like,
oh, Julie, why?
I feel like what Julie was saying in this tweet, unknowingly or not, is that white women can't be trusted to do the work. They can only be trusted to reap the benefits of that. And I think, side note, it also does paint all white women as a monolith. Pay attention to that. But anyway, her next sentence. I hope you understand that me seeing you as a hero is not meant to add to your anxiety. Rather, it's to lift you up and celebrate you. Julie. Y'all, Julie really thought this was a compliment. Oh no! So why this part is also troublesome is that Julie is taking it upon herself to share her intention, all good, but then crafting the narrative of how it's meant to be received. And because perception is unique, for her, it's great to be lifted on that pedestal. Look at her white feminist protagonists across all her series. Like I said before, they're tough, independent, powerful. Sometimes they're damsels, but they're never in distress. They're mystical, magical girl bosses, and we love that for them. Except racialized black women, and I imagine other racialized women of color, but specifically talking about racialized black women, have had this role placed upon them without choice. It's a lot more fun when you get to choose to wear the cape, or even are outwardly reluctant whilst inwardly super happy to be given the role of savior. To constantly be placed in that role, it's beyond exhausting, beyond frustrating, just beyond. I have been watching so much Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. Lisa Rinna has got me saying beyond, good Lord.
Shut your f***ing mouth. I've had enough of you, you beast.
Beast?
Yeah.
How dare you?
Okay, think about it like this. Let's say you're at a job. You may not be the most amazing employee, but you're always being tasked with doing jobs beyond your title because managers trust you more than they trust some of even the more senior staff. To some people, that's a compliment because it's like, hey, we trust you, you're great, blah, 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 blah. For someone who's been working since they were, 14 officially and 11 unofficially, sometimes 2 or 3 jobs at a time, for me, at first it was, oh wow, these people really trust me. And it was cute. But after a while, it became,
Why the can't these people get these other people to get it together?
why am I having to fix everything? Or me and like 2 other employees that actually do our job. Do you know what I'm saying? That's what it's giving. Everybody's got to pick up the slack. And when you're working with people that are just not doing their part and the managers have just given up on them and are like, ugh, but they still have the job and they still reap the benefits of all the things, but you have to work twice as hard. Do y'all see where I'm coming from? Even if you're not a racialized person of color. That's why I love social emotional learning so much. You can still relate to me as a person in general, on a person-to-person level. You can still relate to how frustrating it is having to work a job and do all of the work by yourself or with other employees, and the managers and everyone looks to you to be the savior, the hero, when other people aren't doing their part and you're just like, why the fuck do they still have a job? That's what Julie's tweet was giving a lot of. We all have work to do when it comes to fixing this world, when it comes to dismantling systems of oppression and on a macro, and then on the micro, checking ourselves internally and the people closest to us. And if you have this expectation that other people are gonna do the work for you, that racialized Black women are gonna do that work, and you think it's a compliment, you probably then have never had to work a job and been in that other position, which means you're probably of a certain class too, so, and Julie Plec is of a certain class, so that also checks out. Anyway, I am somebody who tries to give people grace and space, so I think that Julie truly meant this as a compliment. But girl, a lot, not all, because we're not a monolith, but a lot of racialized Black women are tired of everyone looking to us to clean up the mess when it feels like there are no other options, or that being the first option. It's treating us not only as a monolith, but also as some superhuman alien beings who have powers no one else has to spot bullshit and call it out, or see a problem and know how to solve it. That's not a skill solely related to racialized Black women. That doesn't make any sense. But given all this info, it does explain why she wrote Bonnie the way she did. Okay, so this is not going to be some big, ginormous, in-depth synopsis, but the basic info that you need to know is that The Vampire Diaries was a CW show based off a book series of the same name. It aired for about 8 seasons from 2009 to 2017. Here is actually a better synopsis from Justin P. Shaw. Like most media in the genre, Buffy, True Blood, Twilight, etc., it follows a young white woman who falls helplessly in a love triangle with supernatural creatures of the night, vampires, and sometimes werewolves. Drama ensues, people die and come back to life, Black people get sidelined, rinse, wash, repeat. But for real, the show spends like almost all seasons worried about Elena. Who's after Elena? How we gonna save Elena? Elena sneezed. Bonnie, use your magic to heal her. She must be getting sick. And in a blog post that I read by Justin P. Shaw, an assistant professor at Clark University, he argues that the only realistic aspect of the show, even though it's fantasy, is the race portion. Talks about how it's a very white-centered show. He talks about how Bonnie was gaslit and sidelined, how she always shows up to save the white people and never gets a fully realized life. He basically says that she's the embodiment of the Black friend. I mean, her first boyfriend that she got cheated on her with a ghost, was murdered in front of her. She died and was a ghost in some lonely void, and her friends didn't know that she was dead for like a whole season. Other times that she's liked characters, they've just been into her so they could use her for her powers, use her to get to Elena. You met her mom in like a couple of the later seasons, not in the first one for sure. Her dad didn't show up till even later in the seasons. And like he dies in front of her and she can't do anything about it. And then they just move on after a while. And like that's a whole thing with the show in general about how many people's parents die, and that's a thing in teen shows. I think it's just to help the teenagers be able to do whatever they want as a plot device, like whatever. Bonnie also comes from a long line of witches, Bennett witches, and the show makes them seem crazy for not wanting to help vampires after centuries of these white folks doing too much. Like, no!
You have quite an opinion for someone who doesn't know me.
You got some nerve knocking on a Bennett witch's door and asking her for anything.
What do I do?
Spirits talk, Mr. Salvatore, and so does my granddaughter. You are no friend to us. Now get off my porch.
No, the witches aren't gonna like the vampires, Julie, no! To me, because the time we live in, it would have been more interesting to explore how racism in some of these dimensions might have played a factor into this magic, mystic, whatever. Or if you wanted to completely ignore race and just make it about magic, then you really have to do your due diligence and homework to make sure that you're not perpetuating stereotypes on screen. Because even if you don't want the show to be about race, you can't ignore how racialized characters are depicted when the showrunners and writers and stuff are white. You just can't. Like, it's a different kind of vibe. Not trying to put us all into a monolith, I'm just saying, and again, that's why we care about holistic representation. Behind the scenes, you have to have as diverse a cast behind as you want in front, and those people have to be invested in not just throwing diversity in for diversity's sake, but really showing the world that we see around us. Otherwise, nothing changes.
Bo's not complaining. Bo's mute.
Back to the Vampire Diaries and, you know, the juxtaposition of how Bonnie and Elena were written, treated, received, all that sort of stuff. Elena is pretty much always a damsel, not necessarily in distress, but a damsel nonetheless. She's always yelling about how she doesn't want that, how she wants to die, how she doesn't want her loved ones to be sacrificed for her, all of those things. Even Bonnie, yes, of course, especially Bonnie, but it's what the character represents. The epitome of the world revolves around you. We have to protect white womanhood so much that even if the white women we're protecting doesn't want to be protected, we still do it anyway. Elena is constantly telling people, don't save me, I don't care about my life, blah, 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 blah. But the conditioning, as I said before, is that this is a narrative. You protect white womanhood at all cost, and the rest of us just have to deal with it. I guess I could also relate back to the media and the missing as well. The research even pointed out that men don't even get as much coverage as missing white women. So this runs a little deeper. You know what I'm saying? This runs a little deeper than we're... And again, another white girl that's in the show that I think is more interesting is someone like Caroline. She's more independent. With the show, you have at least a couple or even a few more representations of a white girl that you can relate to. You could be a Caroline or an Elena. If you're black, you only get a Bonnie who is biracial. Maybe that wasn't, the rest of us weren't the target demographic for the Vampire Diaries, but fantasy and sci-fi and stuff likes to act like racialized people of color aren't interested in that. And I'm just like, who told you that? Who lied? Black Panther teach you nothing? So another way that the Vampire Diaries doesn't necessarily overtly state race, but implies it, or at least implies the way society in this part of the world handles racial inequities just on an everyday chill level, is in the fact, and this is a part of Justin P. Shaw's article, is that the vampires that are, again, mostly white, get to turn off their emotions at any turn. It's called the switch, like flipping the switch.
Just remember to bring me back.
No, Stefan. No. Stefan, no.
So let's say something really terrible happens. This typically happens in the show when things just go awry. Caroline's mom dies, she turns off her switch. She flips her switch. Stefan almost killed Elena's brother, and I think he turns off the switch or something. Elena's brother dies and she turns it off, like flips it. Like, it's this whole thing of like flipping the switch, and it's turning off your humanity, essentially. That's literally what they call it in the show. A lot of the times, these white vampires get to do this, and so they don't have to feel the pain of like what they're dealing with. Cool, great. I'm sure many of us would want that switch button if we could have one. But they also end up getting to do the most egregious things on the planet to each other, to other people, and eventually all is forgiven because their humanity switch was turned off. Like, Stefan literally killed Bonnie's like forever love interest, the final guy that I was like, oh wow, she actually has a love interest. This is great. This is a healthy relationship. Oh wow. Killed her in front of her eyes. It was so painful to Bonnie, she created a whole portal, a whole world. The way Race operates in that you can check out if you are seen as a default, because remember, all of us are racialized. And again, as I said, the reason I think certain white folks, I should say, are so against CRT is because it's racializing white folks when they have typically been seen as a default. So white people, it's very easy to be like, why does everything have to be about race when you are not racialized? But when you are, it's a big part of your identity, even if you don't want it to be. It's like thrusted on you. Let's take race out of the picture for a second again, because social emotional learning, people have been conditioned to think that because someone is a different race than them, they're never going to understand how it feels to feel certain things. And I think that's a pretty damaging way to look at it, because I'm still a human. But taking race completely out of it and just talking about, empathy and all the stuff that we talk about on this channel. In the show, Bonnie does not get the right to turn off her humanity when the pain is too much or anything like that. She has to just deal with it as a part of life. She doesn't get that advantage, that privilege. Do you see? Another thing that Shaw points out, and this is how I think the Vampire Diaries can also kind of show us what's going on in the world around us too, is that even though all the characters will agree with Elena and be like, no, you're right, Bonnie's not gonna die for you, blah, 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 Bonnie's life matters. When people say Black Lives Matter, it's all good. In the show, they'll say all of that, only when, though, their lives or when Elena's life isn't at risk, because they want to protect their own. It's expected that Bonnie would die over Elena, even if the characters don't want to say it out loud. And I understand that. It's just also something to be mindful of. When exactly does Bonnie's life matter? Does it matter all the time, or only when Elena's life isn't in danger? I'm not going to directly connect to the real world, but draw your own conclusions. Another issue with the show, and I guess just the way Julie Plex tweet and her drinking of the Kool-Aid of this narrative of strong Black woman, whatever, hero. It's also that in fantasy and stuff, and this is something that a blogger, Shannon Jenna, pointed out, racialized Black folks aren't always seen as the desirable first option. And how this relates to the Vampire Diaries and what I immediately think of is people wanted Bonnie to be with Damon. People wanted Bonnie to be with Cole. People wanted Bonnie to be with Kai. There were so many opportunities and so many times where I thought, ooh, is Bonnie about to go with the bad guy? And especially Bonnie and Damon, a lot of people were really interested in seeing that. But she didn't get that because the writers they just kept making it seem like they just wouldn't happen for the character. It's like they couldn't understand why an audience would want that.
The thing,
their friendship on the show is so powerful.
it's just so fun. I don't know, I'm feeling like Damon is still madly in love with Elena.
Rock.
They do.
Yeah.
They do
Little
really
Damon.
rock.
Bonnie and Kai.
Will we ever see Bonnie with someone who's decent that isn't going to die at all?
But with Elena and Caroline, it was just a given that they would date each other, date some of the bad boys, do whatever. Like, it was just like, as a racialized Black woman, it does feel very disheartening when you see stuff like that, because I'm just like, even in a fantasy realm, even in fantasy, I'm still seeing the same types of depictions that I see in TV shows and dramas, whatever, that are meant to reflect real life. And that is that the Black woman comes in, saves the day, is the hero, fixes the plot holes, whatever. Once in a while, she'll get a love interest or two, but nothing really lasts. The show and everything, not even just show, everything is about these white girls and you're just a side character and that's just it. And I don't subscribe to that narrative in my life. I know that, but it is something to consider. We're gonna get into the final thoughts because I have a lot of thoughts on this that I didn't realize I had. So let's do that now. I didn't realize I was thinking this much about this. I think I've told this story before, but it applies, I promise. I was hanging out with this guy and he asked me what I thought about white women. Like, he was a white guy. This is a genuine question. We were like on a date and he was like, what do you think about white women? And I was like, what? Like, I just didn't know. And me and this person could talk pretty candidly about race and all that sort of stuff. So it wasn't him asking that threw me off. It was just like, I really hadn't figured out what to say. And the first thing that came out of my mouth was something that one of my managers, who's Irish, he would always say this about any little thing that you did. If you were like having a good time or relaxing for a second, he'd be like, must be nice. The first thing that I thought of when he asked me that was just I don't know, must be nice. And that is the only real way I can describe what it feels like to watch The Vampire Diaries, besides before, and to think about how fantasy, sci-fi, all that stuff doesn't pay enough attention or doesn't have enough consideration or enough diversity behind the scenes when it comes to racialized people of color. Must be nice for white women in these roles to get these roles, to feel like a strong, powerful badass and all of this stuff, and also still be seen as a multi-dimensional character, you know, because Bonnie is still seen as a badass. Bonnie is still quite strong, quite all of these things, but she doesn't get the same treatment of depth that the other characters do. And Kat Graham is such a good actress and had chemistry with so many different love interests and all this stuff. To me, it felt like a waste that happened. And also just the way she felt about the show when you see interviews and stuff with the group and with the writers, when you also see how she was gonna leave and then Ian Somerhalder was like, if she goes, I go kind of thing, like, and how even him and Kat Graham were talking about how they wanted the two of them to be a love interest because it would have been interesting. And I think in the books, Bonnie and Damon, who is Ian Somerhalder's character, I think they actually do end up together in the book. So it wouldn't have been so far-fetched, but it's just like the showrunners and all of this, and I'm just using Julie as an example because I don't know the names of the other people. She might not have even written some of these episodes, but she's the creator, right? So as a leader, you got to take some responsibility for these things. The tweet that she said to me, when I read it, it just made everything so clear. I was just like, okay, so this is what it is. This is how you see Black women. And you think you're doing a service and you think it's a compliment and you think it is a praise. Sis, it's not the compliment you think it is. I feel like I always talk about Shanspeare's damn videos. Shanspeare, you in that Freud costume. I was so mad when I saw that thumbnail. I was like, what the fuck is... I'm kidding. It was hilarious. Anyway, but Shanspeare talked about this. I can't remember the name of the video, but I'll link it below. But this idea of putting capes on an entire group of women and praising them for their resilience and strength when it wasn't a choice, they had to be. It is not fun. And I know that there were, you know, things like #BlackGirlMagic and stuff like that people were doing and still do now as a way to kind of counteract that narrative and make it a positive. And I can appreciate that for sure. I just think if we get too wrapped up in subscribing to that sort of stuff as racialized Black women, it's very like, I don't know, it's in the wrong hands like anything. It can just continue to perpetuate the opposite of what we want. We are magic, this is fun, yes, but we are not foreign alien beings who do not have the same emotional troubles, concerns, and worries as everyone else. Do you know what I mean? And sometimes I think that when people aren't having their feelers out and paying attention, it can just, like I said, continue to perpetuate this myth that Black women are superhuman and super strong and can handle everything and don't need help or assistance and aren't vulnerable and don't need to be cared for and looked after. You know what I'm saying? And from my own personal experience, that's something I've struggled with. It's something I've talked to white women friends about. Like straight up looked at them and just been like, sometimes I just want to fucking get a break. Must be nice, huh? And these aren't, I should say, these aren't even necessarily white women that have had the easiest lives. Like, this is not a thing. But sometimes it is just like this inner frustration that you feel of like, why the fuck does the entire world care so much about this one group of people when there are other people out there too, you know, like it's very, it can be very disheartening. And I'm not saying that that's the case because everybody is different in the world. I live in a certain part of the world where that feels like the narrative a lot of times, you know. I know that the world is bigger than America and Canada. Trust me, I know that. This is just me being honest with y'all about certain things that I have felt and all of this sort of stuff. And I didn't even realize that watching The Vampire Diaries, I always felt like something was a little off, but you know, when you can't articulate it and you're like, this isn't racist, but it don't feel right. I can't remember what TikTok that's from, but it's basically kind of that, you know? Like something in the milk really ain't clean. And I think the way Bonnie as a character was treated and the way Kat Graham as an actress was treated based off of what we know now, it's not surprising to me, but it is still disheartening. She's a biracial girl, you know? She is closer to the beige spectrum. You know what I'm saying? She's closer in the parameters of the dominant group, you know? So if she can be treated that way, what would a character that was like my complexion be treated like, you know? And yes, again, space and grace. I think Julie Plec and many liberal white women like her have the best of intentions when they're saying, and this is probably older white women, but when they're saying things like, we can't trust white women to do this, black women are gonna save us, blah, 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 blah. But if you, quote unquote, love someone, you don't just let them be whatever. Like, if you're in a relationship with somebody or your friend, whatever kind of relationship that is, friendship, romantic, familial, whatever, it is not your job to tell them what to do and blah, 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 blah. But at the same time, the best people around you bring out the best in you and demand more of you. They don't just let you rest on your laurels. And if you, Julie Plec, are gonna treat white women like a monolith in that saying, absolving white women of that, and even if that wasn't your intention, I'm just telling you how it came across based off of even like Mickey Kendall tweeting back and being like, girl, read my book. She didn't say that, but you know, if you really care about this justice and equity that you're talking about, if you really care about uplifting women of all racialized backgrounds, you have to start at home in your backyard with the people that you would be quote unquote closest to, that you would have the most in common with, white women, and demand more of them. Demand more of them. White women that are watching this video, because I know some of y'all watch, I demand more of you. Not in a come in and be a white savior, I'm gonna fix it all, the help kind of way, but in a way that is just think about being another human. I don't even know how else to describe it, because I feel like we've gotten into this place when we talk about racism where it's like, we don't want to hear from white people, but we want to make sure that they're doing things. And some white people are so concerned about looking and doing the right thing that they don't do anything, or they do too much, or blah, 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 blah. And again, all that's gonna happen because mistakes are gonna be made, because that's just the way the world works, especially when you first are learning something. It's building a muscle. If you've never had to think about race because you've always been the default, or racism, I should say, because you've always been the default, it is gonna take some time to acquire or to learn this skill. When you're making TV shows and stuff though, and you wanna actually implement, in my view, these same practices or what you're learning in it, yes, you will make mistakes, but you're still trying. I think it is always best to have open, honest, vulnerable, and intimate conversations about these issues with people that you trust. And that may seem like not that great of a fix, but to me, I think conversations can change people's minds a lot, more than most of us even know. Sometimes you just need someone to just listen to you and talk back and bounce ideas off of, and just hear a different perspective and consider something else. I am not saying this as a blanket statement, but that tweet to me looked like Julie Plec does not have a close racialized black friend that cares about these issues, I should say. I'm not gonna say she doesn't have a black friend or anything like that. I don't know her life, but she might not have a friend, or not even racialized as black, white, whatever you want to call it. She doesn't have a friend that she can send that tweet to be like, no, baby, don't do it. You know, like, white women, you can have the best of intentions and you're still gonna make mistakes, and that is okay. And even as I'm saying that, I'm trying to be careful and still give tough love, because like I said, I have not always been told in the kindest of ways that I am black or dark-skinned. Actually, 98% of the time, that has not been the case. I have been told in the most absurd, disrespectful, unnecessary, and just plain mean ways about myself because of the way that I look. Yes, we need to remember that sexism plays a role in all of this, 100%. And, the thing that annoys me though is that white women often forget that just because they have to deal with sexism, misogyny, that they are still white. And as a result, there are still going to be certain power dynamics there that you just have a better access to because you're closer within that invisible, line, that protection, that whiteness offers you, because again, race is a construct, but that whiteness offers you. So for the rest of us, queer, gender non-conforming, non-binary, trans women of color, racialized women of color, there's a bit more that we're trying to deal with as well. And to put the onus in Julie's tweet on Black women, that they're gonna be the ones, we're gonna be the ones to save us all and fix all the problems. It's like, it's taking away the choice and the agency afforded to racialized Black women. It's creating and making it seem, perpetuating this idea that we are all a monolith. It's tasking Black women with the responsibility that we should all be doing our part with. It is not just up to me to fix these issues. All of us have to do our part. Teamwork makes the motherfucking dream work, okay? This was about the Vampire Diaries and still is. But clearly I had some things I needed to get off my chest. I gotta talk to my white friends. It's been a minute since I had a I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Anyway, be sure to feed your plets, water your plets, and remember that you can always change your mind, because you can, and I will see y'all in the next one. Bye. What else? Oh, fuck, I can't see that. Okay, just read it off of this. Okay. God, we love a fresh text, you know? A fresh? Anyway. But the basic... Ooh! No, this did not go to the beginning. It went to the end. These people are playing with me. They're mystical girl... You know what? Oh no! I know I don't need to say that, but some of y'all... Some of y'all be trying it. Anywho. Okay, this is too fast. I think it's going to give us a lot. Oh, fuck. Okay. Try that again, Khadija. Oh, oops, I'm gonna try that again. It's going a little too fast. That's pretty much it. Yeah, that's basically what we do over here. Every week. Pop culture. Random things that have just been heavy on my noggin, you know? Just whatever. Okay, let's quickly just do the thumbnail. We're trying a different thing and have a teleprompter now and stuff, so it's a bit, but anyway, okay. I might cut that out because I don't want people asking me about the teleprompter. Okay, oh God, okay. Oh, did I clap? Uh-oh. I did! Just in case. Oh, I clapped. "300 years, right down to the day. Now the witch is